Welcome to the Crafty Mini, and this is episode 2 of our season 2 and the fight against the pig so-thoth. So in this, the idea is Sally's going to be going into her dimension through that weird portal door and bringing back Pokemon cards of the 9 other friends that she's going to need to defeat Peppa-Pig, and we're going to be making them out of polymer clay and painting them up. So see it as like a tutorial to make your own monsters. Also, you can make your own Pokemon and have fun with this, because it's cartoony. They're quite simple to make as well in comparison to other stuff you can do out of clay. There'll be a few you'll see later on that are a bit more difficult sort of techniques and things you have to use, but this one in particular is really easy. So I've started off with just a blob of clay, cut open a chunk for the mouth, and then I'm starting to shape it and with the bull stylus and give it sort of just these bumps and lumps inside its mouth. And you'll see throughout the video we'll progress, and we'll basically make it as close as we can to the image that's in the bottom corner of the screen there. Now the Cosmic Screamer, from what Sally's told me, when you listen to Outer Space, there's an ambient sound which we'll play in a second. And from what Sally tells me, so that is the sound that this creature continuously makes as it shouts from beyond the stars, and it lives in the dark voids of space in between, planets, rocks, asteroids and things, and these creatures just fly around in space. Now when they're on our realm, that scream can be debilitating, and this is why Sally wants it to be used against Peppa-Pig to try and stun her, while the other Pokemon come in and can start attacking her to take her down. So in future projects we'll be looking at that on all the other abilities that the other Pokemon, eldritch Pokemon, can have. So I'm just going through now with the clay. I'm adding an arm. As you can see there on the image, it's got the 2 arms and the 2 sort of bunny ears. Now we decided not to do the teeth on this one, because we're using some of those colour shift paints for inside the mouth, I preferred the big gaping more. And I'm just going in there doing the feet with some bacon bond. So I've got a rough idea of shape, stick these on, and then I'll go around again with the bull stylus and just shape them and make sure that it's fully blended into the body before we start adding all the texture. So simple little miniature that you can make here. I honestly go and try it and give it a go, because it's so much fun working with clay. I'm glad I've taken this jump into polymer clay. I enjoyed the Sally one, and this one's a bit different. Yeah, there's things I'd change if I was to do it again when I see the final product. The shape, I'd probably make it a bit more bulbous, because you see the spacing with the eyes on the actual artwork compared to what's on the miniature. It is different, but this is things that you learn as you go. This is my second ever miniature and / creature made of polymer clay, so I'm still learning as I go, but it's an absolute joy to work with.
Right, looks good, Crafty. Now this is a dangerous one, to be fair, so I'm going to put up a little spell. When this is finished, it'll try screaming at you to knock you out. But I'll protect you, don't worry.
And you'll see me throughout the video comparing it to this base. So I want each of the miniatures to fit on one of these bases, so they're not too big. Because again, cuts down cost, the amount of materials you're using, and it's that idea. I want people at home to be able to try and do these. Now, if anyone out there does want to make their own version of a Pokemon, even if it's a legit Pokemon or their own creation, if anyone does make them, whether it's through clay, painting, just a simple sketch, share it. We'll do a community hub feed, or email the images on the Crafty Mini email that's attached to the YouTube, and we'll put them up. We'll do a video looking at everyone else's creations, because there's a lot of fun. So back to the sculpture. So you'll see me here, I'm messing around with the eyes quite a bit, changing things out. Now these do change slightly when we come to painting, because I wasn't happy with the layout. I've tried to give a bit of character by squeezing the clay around the eyes, but I ended up making them a lot bigger, just so they stand out and they're more pronounced. But it's a really simple creature. The main feature of this is its mouth.
Now this one has got a big mouth, Crafty. Bigger than me. I mean, look at it, it's massive. I've seen these things, they grow to, I think you got to call them astronomical units. They're huge, they can eat entire galaxies. Yeah.
So you see me here, I'll be changing the eyes constantly in this bit. adding them, reshaping them, popping them back in, making the eye socket bigger or smaller, until eventually I'm happy with it. So the ears were a bit of a pain to make, and again I've learnt from this that I'd make them a bit thicker if I did this again, and the actual creature overall would be a bit bigger, just so the clays, it's just got a bit more give to it, because when this came out the oven it was all baked fine, but in the process of painting I did manage to break one of the ears off and I had to re-glue it just with some CA glue, which was fine. It works absolutely fine with the polymer when it's sort of cured, but yeah, I'd made it a bit chunkier, a bit bigger, just so it's got a bit more strength to it. But things like the arms themselves, they've cured and they're absolutely fine. There's no issue with those. But this, I think it was this here in particular, it was very, very thin when I moulded it out. So that's something I'd definitely change. And I might go back and redo one of these, because I am looking at the moment at community projects and ways we can give back to you guys who are subscribing and watching these videos. So doing like giveaways for some of the creatures and things. But if anyone's got any ideas, or again if anyone's got anything they'd like to see me try and make, let me know. Even if it's just a couple of words or a sketch, we can do that.
Right, Crafty, I'm gonna pop up the spell now because he's getting close and I don't want to risk it, so excuse me. I think that's done it, I'm not sure. I guess we'll see if you get knocked out or not, won't we? Oh dear.
Right, so onto the painting, so it's fully cured. You can see here the eyes have changed, much bigger, more pronounced, which I prefer, and I've added a bit more detail around the mouths as well. Now we're going to start off, because I want to use the colour shift paints, like we did on Sally's base, so they need a gloss black primer in order for those to get the best effect out of them that you can. So I'm just popping some in now into the middle of the mouth, and this will also be on the top of the base because I want it to match up like we did with Sally. And I'm using a different colour shift, it's called Celestial Azure on this one, and it goes from like a bright blue to a dark purple as opposed to that red. And then just with a mixture of Prussian blue from Vallejo and purple from Vallejo, a 1:1 ratio, just water it down, and I'm going in now around the mouth, and the entire miniature will be painted in this colour. And this is just, again, so I'm trying to match as close as I can to that image in the bottom corner. Right, and when that's dry it gets a dark blue wash all over, just to make all those little details that we've added with the ball stylus and other tools, make that pop. And just going over the entire body. Make sure they don't get anything into the mouth or on top of the base, because that will affect the colour shift paints later on.
Yeah, blue wash. Yeah. That looks gross, that does. Oh. You do like your washes, don't you? Eh?
Right,
nice.
And after that's dry, I go in with a bit of purple, and I'm just dry brushing the extremes, so the tips of the ears, the arms, and a little bit of a dry brush around the legs and the body in general, but focusing more on the tips of the ears, around the eyes and the arms themselves and the lips, just so the purple shows up a bit more. And you see me, if I need to go back and add a bit more paint, I will do, and just building up layers. Because again, the nice thing with this is, especially for a beginner, for anyone else who's watching who wants to try this, they're Pokémon, so they're actually really simple colours and shapes, and you haven't got to worry about really fine finicky details, you know, like on a fantasy model for example, like buckles and weapons and things and pouches. So it's a lot easier to paint. So now with the eyes, they're getting an off-white, which will then be built up to a normal white. And you'll see here there's a couple of areas on especially the bigger eyes, that I actually managed to make a mistake. And I'll go over the blue and just neaten it up later on with the blue. Go back over itself and just take your time.
Oh, by the way, Crafty, I'm going to be doing a Sally Reads episode, and one of the community has donated a book. It's called Read with Biff, Chip and Kipper, Hairy Scary Monster. So thank you, Lily, for that.
And I do like the fact that this it hasn't got any pupils or anything, it's just these 4 white globes sitting in its head. And I think it's, to be fair, the image has kept that Pokemon sort of style to it, but it is a weird and twisted creature. So now I'm going in with the colour shift paint. So this will be the same as in the mouth as on top of the base, and this will take about 5 coats in total to get the full effect of all the colours when the light hits it. You just got to wait for each coat to dry completely. I know there's videos online that say that, you know, it's much better if you apply with an airbrush and things. I've always done it with a brush and I've never seemed to have had an issue. So on this bit now, so I've neatened up all the blue around the eyes, and I'm now going in with a much brighter white just to make those eyes pop a bit more, and I'm not going all the way to the edge, just so the centres of the eye are brighter, just because it just gives a bit more depth. And that's why whenever you're painting a lighter colour like a white, always start off like a slightly off white or a slightly deeper colour.
You're foolish, Crafty.
Right, so on to the final shots. And then the only final thing I've added here is on the eyes I've put a bit of gloss varnish just so they shine a bit. And there is, it's a really simple one, simple paint job. Obviously the more I do these with the polymer clay on these monsters, the more I'm going to learn, and other techniques and things that I'll watch that on YouTube and things that I'll pick up.
Here he goes, he's going to start. Oh, right. Get that Pokeball, come on, we've got to go and trap him now. Get him. Oh, well done, Crafty. One down, 8 to go. Who's next?